Hey, I'm Srini, the creator of Maximize Your Output with Mem. Do you ever feel like your daily, weekly, or monthly reviews feel more like a chore than a tool for growth? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use MemChat to turn daily, weekly, and monthly reviews into a powerful tool for reflection and growth and completely supercharge your daily review process. Now, let's get to the tutorial. All right. So one of the reasons I want to do this video is I did a previous video on using MemChat for daily task planning. And I realized that when I was doing this daily task planning, I was doing a lot of writing. And it occurred to me that maybe I should document all the writing that I was doing in a daily review. So I actually asked MemChat to help me come up with an outline for this video. But there are a couple of things here that are important. So one of the most important things, obviously, is the questions. You need to build a daily review template. So I'm going to show you the one that I created, which some of you have seen before. Now, keep in mind, this template has been updated based on this daily review process that I'm going to show you here. But for those of you who are wondering, how do I actually create a daily planning template? The best part of MemChat is that it can help you with these kinds of things. So you could actually just go in and say, can you suggest questions for review? Now, one of the really cool things about this process is that we can actually leverage the knowledge that we have inside of the knowledge base. So for example, if we go back to my daily planning template, one of the things you'll notice is that I actually ask MemChat to reference a couple of key ideas. One is a book called Extreme Revenue Growth, and another is a question that one of my mentors asked me is, how do you add a zero to your key metrics? Like, how do I 10x something like the number of people who watch this video or the number of email subscribers to a list? So that becomes a filter for this planning process. But unlike just running through the daily planning template that I have done before, what you're going to see here is how actually documenting this stuff in a mem instead of just answering it in MemChat ends up becoming a lot more useful. So let's get started and initiate the daily planning template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into MemChat here and I'm going to say run Srini's daily planning template. So what it will do now is it will ask me to go ahead and review the tasks that I completed today. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this in a separate mem, because I found that when I'm doing this in a separate mem, I actually end up writing a lot more detail as opposed to just making it really short. So I can basically say migrated 5 notebooks from Evernote and then I can say I wrote 5 literature notes for a book that I've read. And so right now I'm just listing all of the tasks that I have gone through, and we'll go through the incomplete tasks. But where this actually starts to get interesting is when you start to actually journal based on some of the questions that are inside of this daily planning template. And I can also I can say that I've recorded this video for daily, monthly reviews. And so I'm just going to go ahead and cut and paste these into MemChat really quick. So I'm just going to, nope, there you go. Do cut here. So do a cut on all this. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just share the tasks that I've completed with MemChat, and then it will ask me to evaluate my incomplete tasks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and put this here. I'm going to go back to here. And again, the beautiful thing about this is that by putting all of this in another mem, at the end of this process, you can then have MemChat write it up as a daily review. So you have this sort of ongoing record. So I can just say adding transcripts to podcast.unmistakablecreative.com. And then basically I'll just add those two and say, okay, these are the things that I wasn't able to complete. So I'm going to go ahead and copy those. And then what I'm going to say is, okay, those are the things that I wasn't able to complete. But now this is actually where it gets interesting, is when you start to plan for tomorrow. But more importantly, you start to actually reflect on the things that you've consumed. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through this process, and then I will come back to it when I have a bit more written so you can see how it works in detail. All right. So one of the reasons I actually did a cut there is because I didn't want to have you suffer through watching me write all of this. But let me first walk you through some of my interaction with MemChat from the previous part of the video. As I mentioned, I actually integrated one of the concepts from extreme revenue growth, and I wanted MemChat to help me prioritize tasks based on what I'm trying to accomplish in terms of basically making sure I'm working on the things that are most important. So I came up with a list of tasks, and then it said, let's prioritize. And I said, why don't you prioritize based on the planning template? Because it actually has things inside of there. And you can see here that it actually prioritized the tasks. And then it also justified why it made those priority decisions. And in this case, I could ask it to be a bit more specific and say, okay, how does each one of these tasks align to my master goals? And so it goofed here, but then I wanted it to ask me about the content that I've consumed. And this is actually where this whole process starts to become a lot more valuable. So you can see here that I actually had an entire write-up on the content that I've consumed, and even linked a bunch of notes that are already inside of Mem from various books and all the various things that I've learned over the last couple of days. So you can see here that this ends up becoming almost an interactive journaling experience when you go through this daily review process. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and paste this response here into MemChat. Now, one of the things I think that is so useful about this whole experience is that when you do this, what ends up happening is you end up coming up with a lot of ideas that you wouldn't have otherwise. And I ended up coming up with just all sorts of thought experiments and even productivity ideas into all of this. You can see here that MemChat actually gives us a lot of all of this. So it even asks, do you want to create a new mem for each source of content, or would you prefer adding these insights into existing mem? So like I can do whatever I want here. And what I'm going to do in this case, I'm going to just tell it, no, I've already got all of that. So what I'm going to tell it is say, okay, no, I think we're ready to wrap up the day. So what I'm going to say is, no, thanks. Let's call it a day. Write up a note titled Daily Review for today based on everything we've just discussed. And so now what it's going to do is it's actually going to take all the content that we have put together, and you can see here that it's giving me highlights from the day. It's going to talk to me about lessons learned. Some of this basically is inaccurate. And so this is why it's actually useful to document some of this. And so what I want to do is basically have it incorporate all of this as well. So I'm going to just say, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and incorporate this into that daily review and say, update it with this stuff. And now what we've effectively got is an ongoing record of our habits, our behavior, the things that we've learned. And the cool thing about this is that you can take this same process and you can apply it to both monthly as well as weekly reviews. And so let's just take one final step here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask MemChat to develop a similar template for both monthly and weekly reviews. And I'm just going to say, this looks great. And so now rather than having to even come up with these questions ourselves, like what should we be asking at the end of the month, the cool thing is that we can even have MemChat reference our daily reviews as part of this. And so this ends up actually becoming a lot more useful than just sitting down and writing a list of tasks. So AI really does become a thought partner of sorts. And so I just wanted to show you how you can actually take your daily task planning and turn it into an opportunity to do daily reviews and also basically do weekly and monthly reviews. Now, this is a very rough version of what it might look like, but you get the basic idea. So if we go back through the steps here, let me go back to the outline for the video here, and you can see exactly what we need to do. The idea behind this really was to document your daily reviews because, like I said, I was just writing these interactions down anyways with MemChat, and I realized that I was writing so much that I might as well just document it. So you basically are going to go through, and if you don't have a template, you can just have MemChat create one for you. Again, what I recommend is you actually have a list of your most important goals in a separate mem so that MemChat actually will use that to reference when it helps you to plan out your day. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed to the Maximize Your Output newsletter, be sure to do that because we include blog posts that go along with each one of these videos. And I also share things that I don't share here on the YouTube channel there in the newsletter. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below.